All anyone can really focus on is Shedeur Sanders. And not just because he's the son of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, or because he plays quarterback with that cool under-fire swagger that's rare even among pros. No, this time the spotlight isn't about touchdowns or highlight reels. It's about a flat-out refusal that sent shockwaves across the sports world. Because Shedeur didn't just decline a contract or pass on a sponsor. He turned down a $6 million offer from the NFL and a $2 million endorsement deal without even flinching. No counter. No polite "we'll think about it." Just no thanks. Like a plot twist nobody saw coming, Shedeur decided that his value was way beyond what they were offering. And honestly, he might be right.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
You can practically hear the record scratch at NFL headquarters. A fifth-round rookie quarterback straight up refusing a multi-million-dollar deal? That's not just bold, it's unheard of. Normally, this is the point where an agent is frantically calculating taxes and bonuses and convincing a player to take the bag. But Shedeur? He's flipping the whole table. The message was crystal clear. You don't set my value, I do. Now let's be real. Most rookies dream of any endorsement deal, let alone one worth 7 figures. The standard script is simple. Get drafted, smile in the press conference, and sign whatever check the league slides across the table. Even if the numbers feel a little disrespectful. Because for decades, players, especially rookies, have had to play the game before they play the game. But Shedeur is not most rookies. He's not even playing the same sport at this point. He's operating on a completely different level, a social media empire, a carefully built brand, and a war chest of Gen Z influence that's making corporate America sweat. And they should be sweating because when a 21-year-old quarterback tells the league, you're not offering enough. And he's right. The rules are clearly changing. What makes this even more deliciously chaotic is how strategic the whole thing was. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment decision. His team had receipts, data, analytics, market research, engagement metrics, global branding projections. They basically walked into the room, laid out a PowerPoint presentation that screamed, "We're the future." And when the brand still came lowballing, they walked out like it was nothing. Because here's what they know. Influence is the new currency. Shedeur's TikTok views and Instagram reach aren't fluff, they're leverage. And the NFL? They're still trying to pay in old-school clout. You want a quarterback who can move jerseys and culture? Then you better come with something bigger than a dusty playbook and a check that looks like it's from 2009. Honestly, it's not even about the money, it's about the message. By turning down the deal, Shedeur didn't just say no. He said, "You don't understand who I am or where this is going." And he's not wrong. Athletes today are more than players. They're media properties, CEOs of their own brand. And Shedeur is out here making calculated career moves while NFL execs are still debating whether a podcast counts as media exposure. Of course, the league is not taking this well. Behind closed doors, you can bet there were some not-so-happy phone calls. Because Shedeur just did the one thing the NFL hates. He messed with the power structure. If a rookie can say no to millions and still be fine, that spells trouble for everyone relying on old models. And don't think this only affects Shedeur. Oh no. This move lit a fire under the whole league. You've got other players watching this play out like it's a masterclass in self-worth. Rookies in the locker room suddenly thinking twice about signing those entry-level endorsement deals. Agents updating their playbooks. Even brands are scrambling, trying to figure out how to actually appeal to a generation of athletes who don't just want the money. They want the autonomy, the respect, and the upside. What's wild is how effortless he made it look. One minute you're seeing clips of him tossing passes at training camp, and the next you hear he's rejecting a 7-figure deal because it didn't match his self-defined value proposition. Like he's the main character in a sports documentary that hasn't even been made yet. And of course, the media went into full meltdown mode. Some called it cocky. Others called it genius. But everyone was talking about it. Which, if we're being honest, was exactly the point. The timing wasn't random. He dropped a rejection during peak preseason drama, just when everyone was desperate for a headline. Shedeur gave him one, and then sat back and watched the internet do its thing. Because let's face it, attention is power. And Shedeur understands that better than anyone. He knows his name rings out far beyond the stadium. He's not just a football player. He's a brand, a symbol, a movement. He represents a generation that's tired of waiting for permission to be valued correctly. And he's not playing by old rules, because those rules were never made for players like him anyway. The NFL, meanwhile, is trying to figure out what just happened. For decades, they've controlled the narrative. They told players what they were worth. They controlled access to money, fame, media, everything. But Shedeur just pulled a power move that flipped that model upside down. And the ripple effect? It's already happening. Brands are quietly calling up marketing firms asking, how do we not get Shedeured? Players are whispering in tunnels about taking more control over their image. College athletes, still in the nil gold rush, are realizing the pros might not be as shiny as they thought. And the league? Well, they've got some soul searching to do. Because if rookies can say no, if players can set their own terms, if influence matters more than draft order, then the entire economic model starts to shift. The salary caps, the endorsement tiers, the rookie structures, it's all up for debate now. And yeah, that might sound dramatic. But this was a dramatic move. One player, one rejection, just cracked open the door to a whole new version of sports. Where athletes aren't just managed, they manage themselves. Where legacy isn't just wins and losses. It's ownership, brand deals, international reach, and narrative control. At this point, Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's a disruptor. A walking TED Talk with cleats. And sure, maybe he'll have to prove himself on the field. Maybe some people will roll their eyes and say he's overhyped. But one thing is for sure. He's not waiting for the NFL to catch up. And that's what makes this so fun to watch. Now, does that mean every rookie should start turning down million-dollar deals? Not necessarily. Let's be real, most people don't have the media clout or the strategic team that Shedeur does. This wasn't a tantrum, it was a calculated bet. And the gamble? It might just pay off big time. So let's give out our fake award of the day. The You Tried It trophy goes to that poor marketing exec who thought offering a fraction of Shedeur's real value was going to go over smoothly. Better luck next endorsement cycle. And to the viewers, what do you think? Did Shedeur make the right move, or is this going to backfire when the NFL starts tightening the screws on rookie negotiations? Are we witnessing the rise of the athlete CEO era, or is this just a flashy detour on the road to a standard contract? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe if you want more stories from the messy side of fame. And don't forget, when the playbook starts feeling outdated, sometimes you have to write your own. See you in the next scandal. Shedeur knew exactly what he was doing. This wasn't just about money. It was about message. About signaling to every gatekeeper, every executive in a blazer who still thinks TikTok is an app for dance trends, that the game has changed. If Shedeur had accepted that $6 million offer, no one would have blinked. The headlines would have been standard. Rookie quarterback signs major endorsement, followed by a couple soundbites, some press photos, maybe a Gatorade bottle or two. But that's not a story. That's what everyone expects. Instead, he pulled a power move that nobody saw coming. He said, nope. And not just no with hesitation, like let me talk to my agent. This was a clean, confident, press release-worthy no. Because to him, $6 million wasn't a jackpot. It was a discounted sticker on a premium brand. It wasn't just a lowball. It was an insult dressed up as opportunity. And while the execs probably expected him to be grateful, like, wow, look at this bag we're handing you, he was already 10 steps ahead. Because Shedeur doesn't measure value in commas. He measures it in control, in freedom, in audience reach, relevance, timing, in whether he gets to call the shots. Let's not forget, this is someone who chose to stay in college another year even though the draft was wide open to him. He knew he could have gone pro. But he also knew what that would mean. Surrendering control, entering someone else's system, letting someone else dictate the narrative. And Shedeur? He doesn't do systems. He builds empires. That extra year wasn't about more playing time. It was about positioning. about putting himself in a place where brands don't offer him deals. They compete for him. Where the league doesn't draft him for cheap, they negotiate for access. And let's talk about the optics, because oh wow, the optics. You've got Shedeur, young, confident, digitally fluent, media savvy, turning down multi-million-dollar offers while wearing Cartier frames and filming pre-game fits like he's walking the Met Gala carpet. Meanwhile, you've got traditional media trying to play catch-up, but he's a rookie. Exactly. That's the point. The era of waiting your turn is over. Gen Z isn't interested in climbing the ladder. They're out here building elevators. And if you're stuck asking why a 21-year-old thinks he's worth more than $6 million, it might be because you're still doing math in a world that's running on algorithm. See, Shedeur doesn't have to explain his value to people who don't get it. He's not here to convince anyone. He's here to demonstrate. And his followers, his engagement rates, his brand awareness, they speak louder than any contract. The brands that do get it, they're already in his inbox with better numbers, more flexible terms, and actual respect. This is what happens when athletes stop just being athletes. Shedeur is his own production company, his own marketing firm, his own tech startup. He's got YouTube documentaries, nil deals, fashion collabs, and a digital footprint that would make most influencers blush. So when someone slides him a dusty endorsement deal wrapped in NFL prestige and expects him to say thank you, he just smiles and keeps walking. And yes, there are critics. Of course there are. Sports radio went absolutely feral for a full week. You had the classic angry takes. This kid hasn't proven anything yet, or he needs to stay humble. But let's be honest, those takes are stuck in an era where athletes were expected to be grateful for crumbs just for being allowed in the room. Shedeur's whole thing is, I am the room. He's not cocky, he's calculated. There's a difference. He's not out here burning bridges. He's just choosing to build his own lane off the highway entirely. And that scares people, because it means they're no longer the ones holding the keys. Even NFL insiders are reportedly shook. This isn't just about one player rejecting a deal. This is about a domino effect. Because if Shedeur can say no and win, what's to stop the next 5 rookies from doing the same? What happens when more players start demanding equity instead of flat fees? Or performance bonuses tied to social impact instead of yardage? We're talking about a full-on rewire of the system. And you know what the NFL doesn't like? Unpredictability. They're the kings of structure. Salary caps, rigid tiers, formulas for who gets paid, what, and when. But Shedeur? He just lit that formula on fire and posted it on his Instagram story with a caption like, "We don't do average." And the thing is, it's working. His brand is only growing. Every news outlet that reported on the rejected deal, free promo. Every angry talking head on TV yelling about entitlement. More clicks. The man turned a rejection into a marketing campaign. His PR team didn't need to lift a finger. The internet did it for him. Even international media picked up the story. Because that's the other part of this equation no one saw coming. Global appeal. Shedeur isn't just targeting American sponsors. He's looking worldwide. Think soccer-level stardom. Think Tokyo, Paris, Dubai, not just Dallas and Miami. This is the globalization of the American athlete. And Shedeur's playing 4D chess, while the rest of the league is still working out how to use threads. And let's not forget the family legacy piece. Being the son of Deion Sanders isn't just a fun fact, it's a branding superpower. Because Primetime didn't just play the game, he changed it. And now his son is doing the same thing, just with different tools. Where Deion wore flashy suits and took over TV sets, Shedeur is optimizing engagement ratios and dropping mic-level statements on X. It's generational disruption, and it's poetic. Now, will this move come with challenges? Absolutely. The league doesn't take kindly to insubordination, even when it's wrapped in a smile and analytics. There will be subtle pushback, cold shoulders, locker room culture criticisms, quiet blackballing attempts dressed up as strategy. But Shedeur's bet is this: I don't need you as much as you think I do. Because in a world where an athlete can earn millions from merch, digital content, international licensing, and brand collabs, all without ever signing a traditional deal, the real question becomes, who's more replaceable, the player or the league? And that's what makes this entire story feel like we're watching history while it's happening. Not just a rejected contract, but a rejected era, a breaking of tradition, a refusal to shrink for anyone's comfort. It's Shedeur standing at the edge of the old sports world, looking it dead in the eye, and saying, "Thanks for the offer, but I'm building something bigger." And as the dust settles, one thing's clear. He's not just betting on himself. He's changing the odds. We've already watched Shedeur Sanders toss a metaphorical Molotov cocktail into the pristine, polished halls of NFL tradition. But let's not pretend the league and its corporate underbelly are just going to sit there and let someone pull rank without consequence. Oh no, you don't shake a billion-dollar institution and walk away without at least a few passive-aggressive press leaks and anonymous executive quotes. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that the NFL doesn't want you to hear. They're scared. Not terrified. Not panicking. Not yet. But there's a very real sense of discomfort in the air, like someone just opened a window during a perfectly curated dinner party and a hurricane blew in. And the storm's name? Yeah, it's still Shedeur. You can practically hear the phone calls happening in real time. Wait, you rejected it. Did he counteroffer? No, he just said no. Silence. That's not just defiance, it's a glitch in the matrix. The NFL has operated for decades on the assumption that every young player is hungry enough, desperate enough, or grateful enough to sign whatever deal is tossed their way. It's not always sinister. Sometimes it's just procedural. You get in line, you prove yourself, you earn your turn. But Shedeur walked in, skipped the line, and basically said, "I brought my own table, and it's nicer than yours." Let's talk about what's really freaking everyone out. It's not just that he said no. It's how he could afford to. That part? That's what has the old guard spiraling. Because this isn't about football anymore. It's about infrastructure. Shedeur didn't need the NFL's $6 million because he's already sitting on multiple income streams. Think NIL deals that rival pro contracts. Think apparel collaborations, digital monetization, equity stakes in startups, even potential film and media rights. He's already built the ecosystem outside the league. That, my friends, is leverage. The kind of leverage that makes corporations deeply uncomfortable. It used to be, you play well, you get famous. Now it's, you get famous, and they hope you decide to play well. And Shedeur? He's got the fame first. The audience is already here. He's already got millions of people watching every move he makes. And not just for football. They're here for the fashion, the content, the vibe. He's not chasing relevance. Relevance is orbiting around him. And sure, you've got the old school fans groaning into their keyboards, saying things like, he should just focus on the game, or too many distractions. But let's be honest, those criticisms are dripping in fear. Because the game? It's already changed. In the new era, performance isn't just judged on field. It's judged in metrics, engagement, conversion rates, and cultural footprint. If Shedeur drops a 60-second clip and it hits 10 million views by breakfast, guess what? That is performance. That is power. And number 300-page league manual is going to stop that wave. What's more terrifying, for the league at least, is the ripple effect. Shedeur's move isn't isolated. It's contagious. Think about the next generation of athletes. High school phenoms. College stars. Players who watch Shedeur say no to seven figures and not only survive, but thrive from it. That's influence. And influence multiplies fast, especially when you've got 17-year-olds already thinking like entrepreneurs. This isn't some fluke. It's a framework. And brands? Oh, brands are watching closely. Some are sweating. Others are salivating. Because here's the thing. While legacy sports brands tried to cut Shedeur a clearance rack deal, newer, hungrier companies are already plotting their offers. More flexible terms. Revenue shares. Creator-friendly deals. Imagine being a rookie quarterback and landing an equity stake instead of just a commercial. We're not talking about old-school endorsements anymore. We're talking about partnerships. And let's just take a second to acknowledge how cinematic this all is. Like, if you pitch this storyline to a Hollywood exec, they'd laugh you out of the room. A rookie QB, son of a legendary icon, turns down the NFL's millions because he's already a mogul in the making? Come on. That's not a career move, that's a movie script. And Shedeur is writing it in real time. Now let's pivot for a second to the NFL's potential response, because you know they're not just going to let this vibe shift go unchecked. Expect a quiet but very intentional tightening of the ropes. Maybe some new language in rookie contracts. A few subtle clauses about external ventures or brand integrity. Maybe a couple of new PR guidelines for social media behavior. All under the guise of professionalism, of course. But the subtext will be loud and clear. Stay in line. And that's where it gets messy. Because this generation doesn't do lines. They do platforms. They do movements. They do let's build our own thing. So what happens if the NFL doubles down? If they start boxing in personalities, clamping down on outside income, or penalizing players for asserting too much control? Well, that's when things could get ugly. Because you know what happens when a powerful institution tries to silence a new voice. That voice gets louder. The movement gets bigger. And suddenly, you're not just negotiating with one player. You're facing an entire generation with microphones, cameras, and millions of followers. The NFL might try to push back, but Shedeur? He's playing a longer game. He's not worried about this season. He's looking 5, 10, 15 years ahead. Broadcasting rights, ownership opportunities, brand mergers. He's not just thinking like a quarterback. He's thinking like a media tycoon with cleats on. So let's go ahead and give out another fake award while we're here. The Main Character Energy Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Shedeur for managing to disrupt an entire league without lifting a trophy. Yet. And here's the kicker. He hasn't even played a down in the NFL. That's the wildest part of all this. His potential is already so potent that people are recalibrating their calculators just to figure out where he lands on the athlete-to-entrepreneur spectrum. And don't mistake this for hype. This isn't fluff. This isn't just buzz because he's Dion's kid or because he's got a nice smile and a killer sense of fashion. This is intentional. This is strategic. This is the new roadmap for the modern athlete. Which means if you're a young player watching this unfold, the takeaway isn't be like Shedeur. It's know your worth and build your own lane. Because if you don't, someone else will define your value for you. And it'll probably be way less than you're actually worth. So now the question becomes, who's next? Which athlete will be the next to say no to a broken system? Which player will follow this new blueprint? Because we're entering an era where the athlete isn't just an employee. They're a brand, a company, a platform, a force. And that shift? That's not going away. So while executives might be dusting off their playbooks and updating their PR strategies, Shedeur is already 2 plays ahead. He made his statement. And now the world's watching to see what happens next. And so are we. Now, if you've made it this far, here's your moment. Sound off in the comments. Was Shedeur's rejection a genius move? Is this the beginning of a new athlete revolution? Or is the NFL going to shut this whole vibe down? Let us know what you'd do if you had the platform, the power, and the presence to call your own price. And if you're here for more chaotic crossroads where fame meets capitalism and people decide to blow up the old system just because they can, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe, because this isn't the last time someone tears up the rulebook and writes a new one in gold Sharpie. Until next time, remember, the real flex isn't chasing the bag. It's walking away from the wrong one.